Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Tuesday, May 25th. This is your daily Buckeye Fix. I'm Tom Moore. The Minnesota game is in an even 100 days. The game against Michigan in 186 days. Today's show is going to be a little different than most Morning Scoop episodes. Instead of a guest, I'm going to be playing clips from a press conference that happened Monday at Ohio State. This was a huge day for the future of college sports in the state. A state lawmaker named Niraj Antani, who's from Miamisburg, he submitted a bill that would allow athletes at colleges all across Ohio to benefit from their name, image, and likeness rights. NIL is a topic we've spent a lot of time talking about on the show over the past year because it's a huge, huge deal that is going to fundamentally change college sports, and it is coming. More than 10 states have already enacted NIL legislation, some of which goes into effect in just over a month. The federal government might be able to pass something about NIL this year, and the NCAA is looking at legislation as well, but whether either of those groups do something about it or not, it is going to be here soon. So this morning, I'm going to let you hear directly from State Senator Antani and Ohio State Athletic Director Gene Smith as they laid out the bill. This is important, so I wanted to make sure you guys get all the facts as they were laid out. If you want to hear my thoughts, along with Tony Gerdeman, we're going to be releasing a new episode of Buckeye Weekly on Tuesday morning to go through all of this. But first, let's just start with Senator Antani, who said the inspiration for the bill comes from what he saw when he was a student at Ohio State.
Since that time at Ohio State, I have strongly believed that students have an inherent right to their own name, image, and likeness. I saw students, even who were on scholarship, struggle to get by, including some of the biggest names. It's important to remember, not every student athlete is on a scholarship, and therefore has a restricted ability under the current rules and laws from benefiting from their own name, image, and likeness. It's also important to remember that no other student at our universities in Ohio have this restriction. It is only placed on student athletes.
Antani also pointed out that Ohio is far from the first state to be doing something like this about NIL.
I'd also like to note that as of today, 16 states have legalized name, image, and likeness ownership for student athletes in our country. 5 of those go into effect in July. 10 other states have bills currently introduced into their state houses that would legalize their name, image, and likeness. We are in fact only 1 in 11 states in America who have taken no legislative step towards name, image, and likeness ownership for student athletes. That changes today. Important to note, Michigan has name, image, and likeness for their student athletes. I think the athletic director would agree for me, we cannot let Michigan win at anything.
Now, here's how Antani explained what the bill is actually going to do.
This bill will affirmatively prohibit any university or intercollegiate athletics association from preventing a student from participating in athletics or otherwise be punished if they receive compensation as a result of their name, image, or likeness. It does allow them to receive professional representation. And as one of the safeguards, we require them to inform their university 15 days prior to entering into any contract. The bill, as it currently stands, has an effective date of July 1, 2021 of this year. This bill does not require schools or universities to do anything to enable name, image, or likeness beneficiary opportunities for students. In the bill also, we do restrict that no student athlete may receive a name, image, or likeness compensation from marijuana, alcohol, tobacco, or casinos.
Ohio State Athletic Director Gene Smith has worked closely with the NCAA on a number of issues in the past. And while he very openly supports the bill in the Ohio State House now, he also said he's hoping that the NCAA will take up the issue when they meet in June and try to figure out maybe one national standard. That won't necessarily put everyone on a truly level playing field because some of these bills would supersede the NCAA, but it would at least represent progress.
I'm hopeful that the NCAA Council in this June meeting, I think it's June 22nd, will pass NCAA legislation. I was blessed to be a part of the NCAA Legislative Solutions Group after we made our recommendation from the larger working group in October of 2019 to allow this to occur. Legislative solution groups were developed in each division, and I was fortunate to be a part of the Division I Legislative Solutions Group. And I still believe that the legislation that was teed up for a vote in January should have been passed in January. I still believe that it still should be passed this month. However, considering it might not be passed, I'm so glad that the senator stepped up to work with us to have a piece of legislation in Ohio that will allow our student athletes this opportunity.
Smith says that the proposal that the NCAA is looking at is something similar to the one just proposed in Ohio, but does have a few differences.
The big thing is there's a few more restrictions in the NCAA bill. This one gives us a little bit more leeway and flexibility, which I really embrace. But there's the endorsement, the disclosure process is different. There's the 15-day process here where we'll have student athletes disclose. That doesn't exist in the NCAA legislation. There's the concept of creating a portal where student athletes will put up their deals whenever they're done, 10 days, 5 days, whenever they're done. So there's no restrictions there. It's a little bit more information around booster engagement in the NCAA legislation, of course. That is a big concern. But that's primarily the big issues. Both of them are silent on prospective student athletes. There is a piece of legislation around prospective student athletes with the NCAA legislation, but that was not recommended by the Legislative Solutions Group. It was recommended that that be pulled in order to work further with the national high school associations across this country. But they can put that back in. So that's a few of the differences.
One thing Smith did want to make very, very clear, this is not players getting paid by the school. This is third parties who would be paying athletes in exchange for their name, image, and likeness rights. So he thinks this is something that is going to benefit a whole lot of people who aren't just football or men's basketball players.
This is not an institutional pay for play. This is not pay. They're earning, the market is deciding, and they're earning their own paycheck, their own value. I personally believe that the Olympic sport athletes, and I know Joey's probably here in the room somewhere, he wrote a great article. The Olympic sport athlete will actually benefit probably a lot more than some of the other sports. They are currently, many of them, leaving with debt, so their incentive is even bigger. And we're blessed because we have some exceptionally talented and gifted Olympic sports student athletes with the leadership of their coaches and others. I think they're going to be really creative in this space. And the other thing is Columbus, Central Ohio. We have a diversity in our businesses and the economic core of this environment. Our student athletes they'll figure it out.
Smith was asked about how this might compare to some past NCAA decisions that gave athletes more rights and how big it could be as far as players in all of Ohio State sports.
I've been fortunate, this harkens me back to cost of attendance, and that was introduced in 2013-14. That ultimately got passed in 2015. Or even with our battle to get the stipends for parents to be able to travel to postseason contests in 2014-15. And it actually goes all the way back deeper to the work program when everyone wanted to restrict student athletes from just working. This one sits at the top of the pyramid for me. It really does, because everybody's going to talk about the star and the Justin Fields, the $1 million valuation, but I have a huge affinity for our Olympic sports student athletes. I really do. I know what they go through on partial scholarships. I know the time commitment they have relative to their sport, what they do in the classroom, trying to be a student and go to work. I mean, these are elite athletes who are trying to cover an average of $27,000 a year, over their time in debt. So this sits at the top of the pyramid for me. I want to make it happen. There's going to be a lot of moving parts. It's going to be scary, but we got to get it done.
There was a question about how much of a burden this might place on smaller schools who would have to be a part of keeping an eye on deals for athletes at, say, the Division II, Division III levels. Gene Smith obviously has worked at some of the smaller levels before he came to a place like Arizona State or Ohio State, and it made it sound like he didn't think that was going to be a very big issue based on how this is all laid out.
I've been there before. You've never been to Ypsilanti, Michigan, have you? But, it's not just about dollars. It's about people. And it's about your vision and how you work with people. And so the reality is pick a school, whatever school you want to. When I was at Eastern Michigan University, I didn't have dollars, but I had access to people in the College of Business. I had access to people in the College of Education who cared about the education of the student athletes. This is not just a compliance issue. This is, you change your thought process and move it from compliance to education. And so whatever school it is, the AD, frankly, and the president shouldn't be looking at the dollars. They should be looking at the talents and skills that exist within their environment that they can bring together to help those student athletes. So everybody chases money. That's not the case here. The case here, as we will announce later in the week, is more about who's willing to help us help these student athletes do deals the right way. So in those environments, if they think differently, they'll find the help they need.
Well, hopefully you guys found that informative and enjoyable. I just wanted to try something a little different today because this is a very big deal. Make sure you check out the episode of Buckeye Weekly that drops a little later on today. Tony Gerdeman and I will go through what we think about the bill, what kind of an impact it could have in Ohio State, its athletes, and athletes all across the state at all these different schools. That's going to drop on Tuesday morning. You can find that and all of our other great podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify. You name it, we're there. Just search Buckeye Scoop. You can find them all there. You can subscribe, and you can also leave us a 5-star rating and review, which we really appreciate because it helps other folks find those shows as well. You can also find them on YouTube, youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. Just hit that subscribe button, and you'll get notified every time we post a new video. This press conference on Monday, we streamed it live on that YouTube channel. You could have watched it live absolutely for free. It's just at youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. If you hit subscribe, you get notified every time we go live, every time we post a new podcast, every time we post a new highlight video, whatever it is, it's all at youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. And finally, just check out BuckeyeScoop.com. We have a fantastic team of insiders, a very active, lively, and fun community. It's all at BuckeyeScoop.com. And you got to sign up before June 4th to become a member, and you will get some fun bonuses. We are celebrating our first birthday on June 4th. And if you sign up before then, you get some fun perks and bonuses and that kind of stuff. So just go to BuckeyeScoop.com and sign up today. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We will talk to you tomorrow.